habitus are interrelated. Okay. Yes, sorry. It's a simplified picture of Pierre Bourdieu. Field and habitus are imagined as two ways, and the turning of these ways are imagined as reproduction. A society, reproduction, it means a process that gives birth to a symbolic capital, which is conceived as the result of the frequency and accumulation of facts. The symbolic capital will eventually become an area of competition, and therefore it is the view which guarantees the continuous turnings of those wheels and assures the ever continuous of reproduction as well. The question that can be raised here is, how could this be applied to the Algerian linguistic markets? The four languages existing in Algeria represent four fields, okay? And the individuals who belong to these, to each of them are considered as reduced habitus. The whole set of habitus makes the habitus of the Algerian society, and the interrelation between each society's field, which with its particular habitus produces a symbolic capital. Linguistic symbolic capital is seen as one form of paramount importance of the whole symbolic capital, and its reproduction is guaranteed as a heritage and as a symbolic capital by its individuals. Reflecting Bourdieu's thought explains that the spontaneous interaction between the field and habitus creates a linguistic market. So whenever the symbolic capital is huge, so this market dominates the other existing linguistic markets. Linguistic exchange in any community as related to a specific economy gives rise to a dominant linguistic market, whose speakers possess the cultural and linguistic capital required for imposing its domination, and appears as a place of power relations where those who possess the legitimate competence are recognized. So here we have a constant contact exists between different languages in different domains, and consequently they cannot escape the inevitable language contacts. We have Arabic, modern standard Arabic, and dialectal Arabic. Classical Arabic, Al-Arabiya al-Fusha, the language of the Quran, is only reserved for religious matters. The modern standard Arabic is the major national and official language of the states. NSA, which we might roughly define it as the modern form of classical Arabic, has become the medium of official domains, governments, the language of education, administration, news reporting, media, and written communication within the Arabic-speaking world. It's also used for religious and literary purposes. NSA has been standardized and codified to better suit the modern era, keeping pace with its present scientific and technological progress. Another appellation of a middle variety comes to existence in the Algerian sociolinguistic profile as the offspring of the phenomenon of diglossia, educated spoken Arabic. In Khawlab al-Ibrahimi's terms, le dialecte décultivé, or l'arabe parlé par les personnes scolarisées, which is mainly used in semi-formal settings between educated people in media, politics, business, and serves for both oral and written communication. Dialectal Arabic, as it is the mother tongue of the majority of the population, it is the language of everyday speech but without any written form. Algerian Arabic, with its distinct dialects, represents the vehicle of a rich, varied culture. In Talib Ibrahimi, in French terms, ces dialectes constituent la langue maternelle de la majorité des Algériens et sont le véhicule d'une culture populaire riche et variée. Due to colonialism, the Algerian population was deeply influenced linguistically, and French continues to play a primordial role in spoken as well as written domains. It has long become a linguistic variety that most Algerian individuals use in most sectors of administration and education. So it's not a colonial heritage, it's the language of the Algerian elites that most intellectuals favor both spoken and written communication. And to varying degrees in daily life interaction, especially among young educated people, French is a medium for debates in scientific, medical, and technical subjects. It affects dialectal forms of Algerian Arabic and Berber dialects too. Loads of French loanwords and expressions have long come into existence in day-to-day Algerian discourse. It's also apparent that today's younger generations show positive attitudes towards this language for its association with progress, prestige, modernism, and its consideration as a means of communication with the external world. Currently, and according to the results of a recent survey, it has been demonstrated that Algerians have a positive attitude towards French, and they do not favor such monolingualism that has been imposed through the Arabicization policy, since literary Arabic alone does not ensure social mobility, which is considered possible mainly through the mastery of Arabic-French bilingualism. Nowadays, French truly has become the language of social mobility and a medium of access to many modern fields of interest. However, the same survey illustrated that the respondents favored French when they were offered English as an alternative to French, as they seem to reject policies that seek to displace French in favor of English. Indeed, French still retains its privileged status in the Algerian sociolinguistic landscape in spite of the efforts promoting its replacement by Arabic through the adoption of language policies in Algeria. In North Africa, Algeria is the second country where Berber or Tamazight is spoken after Morocco. The Berber variety is the mother tongue of an important community in the whole-speech Algerian community. The major Berber groups are the Kabylia Mountains south of Algiers, speaking Tahbaylit, the Shawiya of the Ores range, south of Constantine, and their variety is Shawiya, and other scattered groups in the south, including the Mzabs and Tuaregs, using the Mozabit and Tamashaq variety respectively. These Berber varieties are essentially oral. It is just recently that the language has been standardized and given a script. Last year, Berber has been institutionalized as a second national Algerian language, which makes Algeria qualified as a multilingual country. Nowadays, Tamazight has become a language of instruction. It is taught among Berbers in schools and universities. It is also used in broadcasting several Algerian TV channels. As far as its vocabulary is concerned, Tamazight includes a considerable set of French words, mainly those that have no equivalent in Berber. When investigating the occurrences of loan words in Algerian Berber, Talib Ibrahimi found that 27% of the words are of Arabic origin. Salim Shakir has also undertaken a study on the Berber Arabic context in which 35% of Berber items are derived from Arabic. Other languages in the current sphere of this globalized world, in addition to the existing languages in Algeria, English and other foreign languages, Chinese, Turkish, are also used in many fields for their association with the new technologies and trade. In Algeria, English has successfully attained the status of lingua franca. Many reasons have been responsible for its global popularity. Because technological progress requires an understanding of English, Algeria, like many other countries in the world, tends to adjust its policies and governmental system to keep abreast with the world's broad change and rapid political, economic, and technological developments. Given the importance of a world language, English is included at nearly all levels of the Algerian educational system. Finally, it is safe to say that, in spite of the reinforcement of the Arabicization policy that was planned to replace the colonizers' language in Algeria, French still represents a primordial influential constituent of the present-day Algerian socio-linguistic profile. Algerian Arabic is used besides French in everyday communication at varying degrees. Berber is still maintained as a second official national language and seeks its national status. English gained rapidly the status of lingua franca and a language taught in many streams to keep abreast with development, modernity, and advancements in sciences, computing, and electronics. In Algeria, the aforementioned languages compete with each other, as each one having its linguistic markets dominating the other existing markets in certain domains. Yet this competition does not engender the exclusion of any of them. It is safe to say that they influence each other as they are in constant contact. So Bourdieu's theory, dominant versus dominated languages, fits the relationship between varieties or languages in a diglossic situation or a bilingual one, as the four languages are domain-specific. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Mrs. Drissi, for a well-timed presentation. I need to remind you that it was well-timed, but at the same time, very comprehensive. And again, as I said in the beginning, you have shown what you have demonstrated what I have said. We're talking about the Algerian society and the history and the languages in context. It's just like talking about okay. We'll have the opportunity to ask questions or comments. Our third presentation, you see, we're moving geographically, which is good in a sense. The third presentation is going to be delivered by Dr. Marwan Zakhir from the University Shuaib Tuqali in Al-Jadida. He's an applied linguist, interested in the sociolinguistics in education, sociolinguistics in general, and sociolinguistics in education in particular. He has chosen to talk about a very, let's say, hot, burning issue, which is Moroccan daily, and probably will demonstrate the battlefield of language ideology. I think. So, the floor is yours. Again, 20 minutes, so that we will not have to intervene.
Well, thank you very much. I'd like first to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to participate in this conference. And I'd like also to express my gratitude to my dear professor, Mohamed Malouf, for everything he did for me and he's still doing for his students. I was under his supervision for 4 years during my doctoral studies. And I still remember with your time we spent together, his pieces of advice, assistance, and everything. So thank you very much.
I didn't do your research, you did your research. Sure.
Well, my presentation is titled Moroccan Arabic, the Battlefield of Language Ideologies. Here is the outline. I try to give an overview of the main points in the study in the introduction, then the aims and hypothesis of the study. I discuss the research methodology, conceptual framework, the participants, and the instruments used to collect the data. Then I give findings to the conclusion and implications. Actually, debates on the use of Moroccan Arabic dates back to the time, the medieval period, when Arabs of Spain attempted to, let me say, write their lyrics in Moroccan Arabic. And later on, It was sharpened in the protectorate era by the French colonial administration in their plot to divide and rule. Nowadays, also, new currents of francophone academics defended the legitimacy of Moroccan Arabic in education and media to fight illiteracy. They held many conferences to discuss the utility of Moroccan Arabic as an alternative for standard Arabic in education. And the last prominent one was the one held in the Moroccan Channel, second channel, between a revered savant philosopher, that way, and a businessman. That conference was perceived by critics as a kind of covert linguistic tension existing in Morocco, or a null dichotomy between the East Arab ideology and Western principles of democracy and human rights. Such attempts to flourish the project of Moroccan Arabic, of course, raised the hostility of Arabists and Amazigh activists. So the aim of this study is to examine the status of Moroccan Arabic in education and different ideologies back in its use by Moroccans. It aims to elucidate the reasons why Moroccan Arabic is used by most Moroccans in daily communication, while at the same time lacks official recognition in the Moroccan educational system. It also examines the factors which influence the reproduction of language, social status, and ideologies in Morocco. The author of this study presumes that many Moroccan students and teachers have a negative view of Moroccan Arabic and consider it an informal language, which is not suited for academic and scholarly communication. This perception of Moroccan Arabic is exacerbated by inherent beliefs regarding the superiority of French and standard Arabic languages, modernity, and literacy. For purpose of this study, qualitative and quantitative methods were used, and a descriptive analysis was adopted to present the data. This study, of course, is grounded in language ideology. The term denotes sets of beliefs about language articulated by using as a rationalization or justification of perceived language structure and use. This terminology is frequently used in language studies to define a force shaping people's understanding of their durable practices. Based on social constructivism, the study assumes that the informant's ideology of language status and use is constructed through education, society, politics, and culture. The study examined the case of 172 science students and 22 teachers of standard Arabic and sciences selected from different education levels: kindergarten, primary school, middle school, high school, and university. It used a set of questionnaires to collect the data. Questionnaires, of course, consist of selected response prompts, open-ended questions, Likert scale tests as well. They were used to examine participants' attitudes towards Moroccan Arabic and to elucidate reasons for the language used in classrooms and for other communicative practices or purposes for it. Students were first asked about languages they were exposed to in elementary levels. And here, 81% chose standard Arabic, while 18 chose French and standard Arabic in kindergarten and primary school. This shows that Moroccan teachers delivered less instruction using local languages in elementary grades. When asked about the utility of Moroccan Arabic in sciences acquisition, students show a different attitude. 67 students from university saw no role of Moroccan Arabic in learning sciences, while 90 students from high school agreed that it may play a role in education. This reveals that Moroccan Arabic is still perceived by students as not as effective as French for the purposes of instruction and learning. Students also relate Moroccan Arabic to oral communication and situate it in a lower position than standard Arabic. They also refuse the assumption that Moroccan Arabic may take place of standard Arabic in future due to its link with Islam. Balak, in this regard, argues that religious communities conflate the holy message with the medium through which it was expressed. She added that these communities believe that language and its ideographs were not representations, they were reality. Concerning students' use of Moroccan Arabic in media, when asked about the language used in internet, 70 of students opted for Moroccan Arabic, while 26 choose French, 10 choose Standard Arabic, and 66 selected English. Students reported that using Moroccan Arabic and with Latin alphabets was easier and more practical for communicating through emails or text messaging each other. The responses here reveal that the ideology of practicality and intimacy of Moroccan Arabic is the driving force for students' motivation to use it in internet and mobile phones communication. However, when it comes to TV programs in Moroccan Arabic, the respondents say that they watch them, but they are not satisfied with the artificial language. Further, though Moroccan Arabic has become more pervasive in the past decade in print media, students seem indifferent to it due to the poor quality of the language used. Students also believe that Moroccan Arabic will proliferate in education and media in the future. Teachers in elementary, primary, and high schools, on the other hand, find it appropriate to use Moroccan Arabic as a medium of communication in classrooms, while university professors try to respect the official languages of education, Standard Arabic and French. Teachers who supported the use of Moroccan Arabic argue that it facilitates communication and understanding for students who are more comfortable using it. Respondent 3, for example, from high school, pointed out Moroccan Arabic offers a good opportunity to target weak students by explaining theories in a language they are familiar with. Yet some teachers believe that Moroccan Arabic is not effective in teaching sciences. I can't teach physics in Moroccan Arabic. The classroom discourse will be like Esperanto, with French, Moroccan Arabic, and Standard Arabic, that responded 20 from high school. Most teachers believe that Moroccan Arabic can be useful in kindergarten and in the first years of primary school. What is odd is that in practice, teachers really value home languages in the classroom and many are reticent to use Moroccan Arabic in their instruction. Further, teachers saw no necessity in recognizing Moroccan Arabic as an official language in all education levels. They see the adoption of Moroccan Arabic as a barrier for communicating with others in the Arab world. This belief of one language and one nation is regarded by Maroc as an exported ideology, which has no real consequences, for no country speaks one homogeneous language. Similar to students, teachers rejected the idea that Moroccan Arabic may replace Standard Arabic in education in the future, accusing the current attempts of serving the French agenda to eradicate Standard Arabic. And paved the way for French to flourish, of course. Most of them believe that the use of Moroccan Arabic in high school and university will have a negative impact on students' education. Teachers feel that the issue of language is problematic in education, and the attempts to recognize Moroccan Arabic as an official language together with Standard Arabic, French, and Amazigh will only imperil the Moroccan education system. Concerning teachers' use of Moroccan Arabic in print media, the majority, 25, pointed out that they have never read newspapers in Moroccan Arabic, yet teachers show positive attitudes towards the use Moroccan Arabic use in audiovisual media like internet and text messaging, mobile phones. It seems from the last responses that the decline of Standard Arabic as a medium of communication in new technological tools benefits supporters of Moroccan Arabic. To conclude, the results of this study reveal the advanced state with which Moroccan Arabic has to achieve in the Moroccan linguistic system, or landscape. Linguistic landscape. Factors such as new media of communication, globalization, and human rights helped Moroccan Arabic to gain more ground in domains which were reserved for Standard Arabic and French before. This social promotion of Moroccan Arabic, however, seems unstructured and ineffective due to the lack of an official recognition and to the conflicting ideologies held by its users. The attitudes of students and teachers in this study are reflective of the larger linguistic tension existing in Morocco. The question which policymakers should consider is, how can we alter opinions of teachers and students to see Moroccan Arabic as a distinct variety that can be beneficial on the continuum to learning standard Arabic? Without a clear democratic language policy which gives value to all official Moroccan languages, the divisive nature of the linguistic debate will simply cause other languages to proliferate and at the expense of Moroccans or Morocco's native languages. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Zafir. I find this session really interesting because we are tackling basically the same issues from various angles. And maybe to expand on this, we'll have the opportunity to listen to the next presentation, which it's a joint presentation, but we have Dr. Boplatawi is here, and obviously there is an issue about this, again, language of instruction, the mother tongue, and so on. So maybe the issue of the legitimacy, question of legitimizing including low status mother tongues in language planning and policies, maybe at a much bigger level in multilingual community. Dr. Boplata is a teacher at the University of Tofayl in Kenitra, which is not far away. And Professor Kherat is Professor and Vice Dean of the Faculty of Letters and Humanities in Rabat, University. Now, the floor is yours.
Okay. So first of all, I would like to reiterate the thanks to the organizing committee for the persons that they are present here. But honestly, I would like just to start with something, is that I felt for the very beginning that I am a professor, but in front of Mr. Malouk, I am sliding back to be just a student now presenting, so excuse me if there is a little bit panic, shame, something like that, so you understand now, all right? Haram. Haram ديال التعليم هذا بعد
That will make you happy, I bet it is.
No, but it makes me younger. So as you can see, the title of this paper is The Legitimacy of Including Low-Status Mother Tongues in Language Planning and Policies in Multilingual Communities, the case of Darija in Morocco. But really don't wait for a lot. It's just a shame starting in the track of just showing that if it is called low status language, it is from a social point of view. What I'm striving for is to show that there are scientific bases for just taking into account that our mother tongues is something that is great. This is the language of our identity, culture, personality, and affection. So to start with, as I said, the paper reports on the development of language of schooling of 2 Moroccan children in interactive situations at home in Morocco. The study was adapted from a larger project entitled Dutch Project. The acronym stands for the development of the language of the academic language at school and at home. It is a project that is funded by the Dutch Council for Scientific Research. The outline of the paper is going to be as follows. It is something that is the classical way of doing the things. So I will start with the research objectives, stating the problem, then going to list the questions. Afterward, I am going just for a while to make you understand what is meant by academic language register. Then, research design, followed by the data collection and instrumentation, data treatment and analysis, and research findings, and of course, last but not least, implications with a small conclusion, if I have time to, of course. So then, the research objectives. To start with the first one, it's to examine the degree of presence of the features of the school language in the home input and output of two monolingual Moroccan children at the textual and the socio-pragmatic level across two tasks and over time. The second one can be articulated as to account for the variations in the input and the output of these children in terms of social factors, socioeconomic status, mother's literacy level, and home literacy activities in the light of systemic functional linguistics. For the research problem, it can be stated as follows. The difference between children with regard to the academic language register is due to factors related to the family socioeconomic status, mother's literacy level, and the mediating factor, which is home literacy practices. For the research questions, just to deal with or to reach the objectives stated before, the first research question is what type and amount of the communicative features of the academic language register input do Moroccan mothers provide their children in different tasks and different measurement times in the home context. The second one is what type and amount of the communicative features of the academic language register do children's output reveal in terms, again, of task and time in the home context. The third one, what effect do family income, mother's educational background, and home literacy practices as a mediating factor have on children's academic language development? So, regarding the academic language register, because let's first of all deal with the key constructs to understand what we are speaking about. Because whatever I am, I'm speaking about the academic language, people they say, or the language of school, people are saying, are there two languages within the same language? So I am speaking here and I underline the word register. So for the definition, we can say that the academic language register can be defined as the use of the language for specific, decontextualized, and cognitively demanding communication in school-like tasks. And regarding the terminologies, whatever the terminology is, but still we have in the literature, we have the one that is given by Holiday in 1994, calling it as the language of education. Another appellation is the language of schooling, which is given by Schleppegrell in 2001. It is also called cognitive academic language proficiency. It is the one that is coined by Cummings, dealing with second language acquisition as well. And we have the academic language. It is the one, the terminology that I'm opting for, because as I said, the study, it is within the Dutch project and they are coining the academic language, so I am going to keep with it. Whatever the appellation is, it is opposed to the other side, which is calling the home language, the informal language, the interpersonal language, and so on and so forth. And here I can draw your attention to the appellation for the first time, that we have known that there is, we can speak about two registers within the same language, not across languages. And we can say that we have the basic and we have the cult that is also come from the literature. Regarding the characteristics, not to wait a lot in there, we can say, to wrap it up in general, we can say that for the academic language, it is known by its richness, density, specificity, and decontextualized language. When we speak about decontextualized language, it is using the language without basing ourselves a lot on the clues that are given by the perceivable. In other words, I am not going to speak or to write while basing myself on the shared knowledge, but I have to call the spade a spade. As an example from Moroccan Arabic, instead of just saying جيب هذاك من تما وديه لها وحطوا لها، يمكن لي نقول تو سامبلومون جيب ديك الكرسي الزرق وحطوا جهة الكرسي اللي تنشوفوا لها، and here you are specific, giving designation a lot, and so on and so forth. Not only this, we have to think about just teaching a lot of subject matters, like mathematics. How can I learn mathematics without being decontextualized from the perceivable? It will be mission impossible. And then I am going to speak about the units of research. And here I am driving at just speaking about this analysis of the academic language, because we would like to know what it is, in fact. Yes, we say that it is dense, it is rich, it is specific, it is used for cognitively demanding tasks and everything. So what is it? What are the components just to make the feasibility of just studying it? So we would like just to have linguistic variables and not just theoretical ones. So as linguistic variables, here I am going to speak about levels. There are two main levels, the linguistic and, of course, the communicative level. And here, my study is situated in the communicative aspect, because there is another student, doctoral student, that we used to be together. We used to be the twins. One was working on the linguistic side. I am the one who was in charge of just studying the communicative side. And within the communicative side, I would like just to draw your attention that there are two big slides again. The first one, it is the textual level. And when we speak about the textual level, we have two sub-slides again. We have coherence, cohesion, everything, you know. So this is the first textual level, number one. Number two, it is speaking about abstractness. And this is the part that I am taking into, I don't have time just to explain the whys. If you like, you can ask me afterward, but not now, please, because I have just, I am running short of time. The second slide is the socio-pragmatic level. Within the socio-pragmatic level, we have two sub-slides again. We have speech acts, and we have the intersubjective relation. In other words, when we have the collaboration to enrich a given communication. I am again taking just the other part, which is the socio-pragmatic level. So to move on, these are the units of research in general, just to say that the feasibility of research. For the research design, not waiting here because I know that you are experts, but still I would like just to wrap it up. So it is a non-experimental, ex post facto design with repeated measurements and basing itself on two approaches, the quantitative and the qualitative research. Okay, method. So regarding the variables, we have two types of variables, independent and dependent. Of course, for the independent variables, they are more interesting because they are the ones that they have given me a lot of trouble just to compute them and to collect them for questionnaires and everything, and it's a long story. So we can just speak about it while sipping coffee. But regarding the participants, I have chosen just 2 children from a sample of 18 children in a doctoral research. So there was a thoroughly, of course, investigation of their interactions with their mothers and everything. So why I have chosen the two children, it is based on the score that both of them got while accounting for their home literacy practices. So I have taken the least score and the highest score. Okay, so considering the interaction tasks, it was a book picture telling task, because this is in the structure of this research, we have it as the structured task, and we have free conversation, which is the spontaneous task. And keep those two notions, because while dealing with the findings and interpretation, it's of great importance just to pay attention to that. And I'm going to remind you if you forget. So data treatment and data analysis. The treatment, it was, first of all, the transcription, it was in the chat transcription system, which is codes for the human analysis of transcripts. It was launched by McWillie in 2001, so it is a new one, basically, we say new in here. So coding, for the coding, there was a dash coding protocol that I have followed for just coding within the program that is called CLAN. And we have the running frequencies via the CLAN, and then numericals and descriptive analysis, it was done via SPSS. I have to go through CLAN because I would like just to transform the corpus into numerical data to be labeled, to be treated via the SPSS as a quantitative method. And then we have inferential analysis with the SPSS, and of course it comes first, it's ANOVA and person correlations in general. So the first finding that I can speak about is somebody to take care of my slides. I would like just to be in front of what I have in there. Somebody, Maria Moshe, thank you for helping. Yeah. So for the findings, we have, the first one is, I am speaking about the relation, the person correlations between the mother's academic language composites and the home literacy practices. And we find that it is Poincaré 1, which shows that it is, thank you, which shows that it is a high positive correlation between the two factors. The second one, it is concerning, this one, it's, I have a mistake, it's not mother's academic language composite, but it's children academic language composite, and with the home literacy practices, it also correlates. As a matter of fact, it makes the study more interesting again, and I am just starting macro to finish macro. It's to show why, to scrutinize why this correlation, this high correlation between the two. Yes, Mariam? So Dua and her mother, Dua is the first one with the low score concerning the home language practices, and with her mother. And I have just taken some of the variables, the linguistic variables that I'm working on. It is the non-present talk, which is standing for abstractness, and we have assertive, they are speech acts, assertive speech acts, and open-ended questions. These three features, they are considered to be the pillars of just speaking about the academic language. And as we can see, for the mother, she is producing less abstract language than her child did. All right? So just to keep in your minds that the mother is illiterate, no job, and the Dua is coming for a low socioeconomic status. It was by coincidence. I have taken just the highest and the lowest score, and the coincidence is this, which means while dealing, I have found that all the variables, the socio variables that I have accounted for, they are inserted without my, the choice was not conscious. And then we have what is amazing, is that to look at the socio-pragmatic level where we have assertive and open-ended questions, you can see that the mother has 0 assertives, and then the child is 0.87. By the way, I have worked on proportions, which means the number of utterances divided by, and so on and so forth. So there, and you can see that in open-ended questions, we have 3 3.46 and 3.65 without looking at this, of course, at this scores within the constellation, within systemic linguistics, we cannot understand anything. It is an intricate matter. As a matter of fact, I'm drawing your attention to the following. In principle, to say that we are within a school-like situation, in fact, the adult, because here we are approaching field, tenor, and mode, and positioning the children is the most important thing. In other words, you should always position your children as authorities and providers of knowledge, and you are the one who is monitoring. So if we take this in our mind, we can say that it's legitimate to have just Kinza, who is giving, oh, I'm sorry, I'm awfully sorry. You have gone to the second slide, no, I'm within the first one. So we can see that, in principle, to put your child in an authoritative position, as a matter of fact, your child should provide more assertives than you are going to do. And then for the open-ended questions, we see that Du'a is producing more open-ended questions than Harman. It's quite legitimate. It shows that Du'a is still what? Is still in need of support. That's why she is asking a lot of questions. Because the ma'am should give more questions, what?